Yes, sorry. I think I lost connection for a little bit, but I'm back. Hi. Thank you guys for joining. Thank you, everyone. Ryan, thank you for having me. I'm super excited to talk all things Skintellect and also to get to know all the brands that are in here as well, to get an idea of and feel of what you guys are thinking in the space, how you guys are approaching kind of building out your brands and what you care about and looking for as well. So very excited to get into it. I will give maybe about another minute or two so a few more people can trickle in while I share my screen. So I'll mute quickly. I think a few more people are coming in.
That'd be really interesting.
Yeah. And then, okay. Also, I will check the chat throughout just so in case there are any questions. So I'm addressing everyone's questions as well.
Sounds good.
Okay, 1 second.
Everyone, is the connection okay for you all? If you're having some connection issues, please feel free to throw it in the chat and let me know.
Yeah, I think mine. Okay, because I think mine is glitching, but if it happens, let me know. And I think I might have to just refresh or rejoin.
Got it.
But I'll go ahead and present now. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yep, it looks great.
Okay, amazing. 1 second. Okay. Just switching up the view. Okay, great. So I'll just jump right in. I know we've been some people are trickling in, so that's good. I will address anyone or just welcome people as they come in. But I am Delanique. I am the founder of Skintellect. Skintellect is, I'll jump right in more so about what we are, what we're doing, but just a quick, brief intro on Skintellect. We're an online marketplace. We're essentially trying to, we're set out to fill that gap between the missing link of Black beauty, what our category really is, and a retail space that truly amplifies Black-owned beauty brands and Black beauty in the essence of A beauty. And I'll jump in and I'll share more about what A beauty is because I do get a lot of questions about what is A beauty, where did this category come from? A beauty is essentially African beauty in the essence of it all. So, just a little bit about my journey. It wasn't a one-way street to get in here. It really started as, to be honest, not having a huge interest in beauty in the very, very beginning. I started from a very traditional background. So traditional advertising marketing background. So I studied advertising and double minored in international business and fashion marketing in college. And I actually moved to the States from Jamaica. So moved to New York from Kingston. And so I'm trying to figure out myself, trying to assimilate into my new life. And then shortly after, I started working more so like media strategy for clients like Honda, Burger King, Universal Studios. Very far from beauty, but that's okay. While kind of exploring that career path, I decided to kind of explore beauty in a more so cosmetic science area. So I started experiencing acne for the very first time. And like most people, kind of freaked out, didn't know how to handle it, which is
Right.
totally fine. But it was like when you're, you know, in your 20s experiencing acne for the first time, it's like harder to navigate because you really, really are so brand new to this experience. So I went to UCLA to complete their cosmetic science program as a consumer, not as a business founder or had any interest in going into the skincare space at all, just out of curiosity. And then kind of just put that idea to the side and started working, launched a media agency and digital marketing agency with my business partner. And we've worked with luxury brands from Macallan, um, um, La Mer in terms of beauty, IHG hotels and
Wow.
Intercontinental properties. So it ran the gamut. But even through that, I still kind of went back and forth about what is my passion, which is skincare, which it turned out like I kept going back because I've always recommended products to my friends, always had an idea of which products to use, ingredients. Thanks to the UCLA course, I understood more about ingredients, and which helped me to understand more about products and not just the general marketing of products, but the actual science of it all. So all that to say, I ended up here, launch Skintellect, and trying to figure it out, right? Like we all are. So no one-way street. So kind of just wanted to put that out there for any founders who is likely having, maybe this is your side gig and you have a full time and you have a career. It's all a journey, which is amazing to see how we all navigate that space. So now to really dive into who we are. Skintellect, we are an online marketplace, and we're essentially designed to amplify Black-owned skincare, beauty, and wellness brands. But our approach is more so to champion A beauty. And the reason why I'm deciding to champion A beauty in such a very broad and bold way is because I feel like we have the K beauty category, we have the J beauty category, but we don't actually have a category that amplifies Black beauty. And I feel like sometimes just saying Black beauty doesn't feel like it's enough. So what does that look like if we have a category that champions beauty brands from here, skincare, color cosmetics, wellness, that champions African beauty in the sense of African botanicals. So what that looks like, it can be from the continent and also the diaspora. The diaspora includes like the Caribbean, Brazil, even the United States, right? So it's a way to rethink how we think about Black beauty in a sense. So essentially, all of our brands, they're really curated, and they're a range of brands that are formulated to celebrate and uniquely cater to melanin rich skin and textured hair. Now, our why. A lot of thoughts came to mind when thinking about Skintellect, but the main thing, and our bottom line really boils down to the fact that most women, Black women, but let's say women of color in general, do have a hard time finding beauty products at mainstream retailers that meet our needs. And if you think about it, it's either a tab on an online platform or it's a shelf somewhere kind of tucked away, right? So it still make the discoverability not a very fun and easy process. But so our why is essentially to make Black consumers feel more confident when shopping beauty products. As I said, to champion a beauty category in a way that feels very personal and very intentional and not just slapping on something just to feel cool. And also creating a space where we can really discover Black owned products and tell those founder stories. So truly, true amplification. So I know I'm saying all of this and it's like, okay, you're saying this. Why should we believe you? Why is a beauty a thing? You're the only one I hear about this. Well, the proof is actually in the pudding because the media has a lot to say. Um, right now, this is three articles from 2022, 2023, and 2024, which shows an uptick, right? It shows that it's not all happening all at once. People are just talking about it. 2022, the conversation started. And I think it's a good thing to note that there's a consistency in the conversation around a beauty. So the Zoe Report. This is an article by Shani Hillian. And Shani Hillian, she is an esthetician. She truly, truly based her practices on kind of very native approach to beauty rituals. So it's very clean beauty, very holistic approach to beauty. And she wrote about the unsung stories of African ingredients in some of her favorite beauty products. And this is for the Zoe Report in 2022. Now, if you think about the L'Oreal's and the big conglomerate brands, a lot of their products have like sheer moisture in them. I mean, not sheer moisture, sorry, sheer butter in them,
Right.
right? So when you think about, and that's an African botanical, right? But it's not marketed as such, and it's not the origin story of those ingredients that are truly amplifying the formula of these products aren't necessarily being talked about. So that article by Shani Hillian talks about that in that sense. And then for Vogue Business, there's an article about African brands that are taking Asian ingredients global. Now, this was an article from last year, and I think that also, if Vogue Business is talking about it, then there's something happening here. And I think what I want with Skintellect is that we're not catching up in these conversations. We're actually leading these conversations, and we're part of them. Um, and then as as recently as last month, Beauty Matter also have an article about African brands and how they're rewriting the continent's beauty narrative. So I hope I'm not glitching too much. I think I was breaking up a little bit. So stop me if I am. But that article by Beauty Matter, okay, amazing. That article by Beauty Matter, I think stood out to me a lot because the rewriting of the continent's narrative is currently being done through music. We know Afrobeat is at the peak as it has ever been in a very long time or ever on a global scale. And then you also have Africa Fashion. We had a huge presentation by the Brooklyn Museum that was dedicated to Africa Fashion last year. And I think it's also being rewritten through beauty. So I think music is having its moment, fashion is having its moment, and I think beauty is up next. So just to give you an idea of the trend reports that's happening, what people are talking about, and how we can be a part of that conversation.
Dominique,
um
quick question.
yes.
So
Yes,
we do a lot of
definitely.
research internally as it relates to skincare and different subsectors within beauty. I'm kind of interested
Mhm.
to hear your perspective. Who are the main consumers of a beauty, as you would say? Like at Brain Trust, we have this thesis that Black brands create products for everyone. But when I think about Afro beats and a lot of
Mhm.
groundswell of activity that we've seen coming from the diaspora, mainly from, the mainland and Africa and everything. Are there primarily Black people that are consuming these products and propelling these products to the mainstream, or are these products being, digested across different racial and ethnic lines? Any thoughts there?
Yes. So I actually think there's a shift happening. I think it used to be, it used to be, I don't want to say primarily, but on like a global scale, it used to be, a demographic outside of Black people, to be very fair. Because I think because when repackaged, re, sorry, I think am I good now? Am I good again?
We're good now. Yeah.
Okay. I think it used to be repackaged and marketed as this exotic, ingredient and this exotic product that you need. And I think we all know how that is marketed and how that's received by people that aren't necessarily Black consumers. So I find that it used to be a very exotic approach to marketing African botanicals. And now it's a straight up native, telling native stories, appreciating ingredients. And I think because music and fashion is helping to change a narrative of just African beauty and just Africa in its general sense. Now, and it's very interesting to say this, I think now Black people from the diaspora outside of the continent are becoming more comfortable to embrace that, if that makes sense. I
Absolutely.
think, yeah, we're seeing a shift in how people are consuming the music, the fashion, and the beauty. But I think for a very long time, it used to be people that didn't necessarily look like us because it was packaged and marketed in a way where it's more exotic, right? Exotic botanicals instead of saying African botanicals used to be the term used. But I think, like I said, earlier, about being very bold in my approach is calling it what it is. And it is African botanicals. So trying to make sure that we are able to tell those stories about the ingredients, just so it resonate with us and also a wider audience. Because not because it's made by us and it's from our continent doesn't mean that it's not for us, for everyone else, if that makes sense. But very good question, because I've been having that conversation about who is consuming and um, who are we marketing to. So very, very, very good conversation, which I think will continue to develop as we grow as well. So I wanted to share a bit of the brands that we have on Skintellect. This is not the full list. We actually have a growing list of almost 20 brands now. And I know it's in its very small stages, but I think 20 brands is an incredible place to be, especially as, people will say they don't think there are enough either Black owned beauty brands or A beauty brands to really run a successful multi-brand platform in the way that we're kind of like approaching it. So exactly. Yeah, that's amazing. So just to go through the list, we have Epilogic. Epilogic is dermatologist founded brand based in New York. They focus on hyperpigmentation, from all sense of it. So PIH. They focus on sunspots and also melasma. Then there's Hannah Hannah Beauty, an amazing, amazing shea butter brand that is, like Ryan says, it is a Brain Trust Founder Studios founder. And they also just won the 15% Achievement Award grant of, I don't remember how much it was, but that was incredible, by the 15% pledge team. So we have Hana Hana Beauty, we have Glean Quesil, which again, I think is the importance of what we're doing. Quesil is an ingredient from Somalia, which I think on a global scale, we are very unaware of that ingredient. And Glean is pretty much reimagining Quesil for the global audience. And they recently launched and they have an amazing product, two products that I think for us, it's important for us to know about these ingredients that work for our skin. It's from Somalia, and we don't know. And Somalian women are so beautiful. Their Somali women are the most stunning skin. So it's really nice to kind of like learn more about what's coming out of the West, the East, the North, and the South. And we have Namesake, which is a mother-daughter duo. They have just one product right now, and it's a rosehip renewal face cream, which I use daily and absolutely love. We also have Melodor, which is a sunscreen brand, and we all know as women of color and Black women in general how we struggle to find the right shade. Not the right shade, but the right sunscreen that actually blends into our skin. But not only that, they go a bit further beyond making sure that it blends in and doesn't leave any white cast, but they they put a lot of emphasis on ingredients that nourishes your skin, and that's actually healthy and skin loving for melanin rich skin, which again I think is the importance of amplifying our botanicals. And then last but not least, Merile Lou, which is a cannabis, like a full flower brand, where they essentially use full flower hemp to infuse in their skincare products. And it's what that does is it calms the skin, soothes the skin. It's good for eczema. It good for like flare ups, and also really good for reducing hyperpigmentation and all that good stuff. So really, really cool. And the founder, she's Honduran. She's half Honduran. So it's nice to see how, there's so many brands across the board and founders across the board. Yes. So next slide. I just want to talk a bit about our pillars. We have 4 pillars that I think for us really matters on how we are approaching this space. It's not an easy space to kind of just like go head in and want to be a part of. It's very tough to get customer acquisition in general, but especially when you're going against huge retailers, it's even harder. But we know this is going to work because we are very strong in what we believe in. So representation. I don't know if you guys know Soko Glam. Soko Glam is essentially an online marketplace for K beauty. That's what they stand for. That's what they believe in. That's what they provide, and that's it. For us, I've noticed that there's no representation in the sense of no retailer or marketplace that's amplifying A beauty in the way that Soko Glam is amplifying K beauty. So there's a huge gap there. There's a huge space there. So we're really just coming in to fill that void and being about it. They said, hey, we're 4K beauty and that's it. And they don't need to see anything else. We're essentially approaching it in the same way. Then there's equity. I think this might or might not shock a lot of people, but Black owned brands only receive 2.5% of the industry revenue, even though US Black consumers is responsible for 11.1% of spending in beauty, which is 9 times more than their counterparts in terms of like spending in beauty. So what that looks like, that 11 like in the billions of dollars.
Dominique, I think you broke up a little bit there. You still here? There we go. Uh-oh, I'm sorry, everyone. Dominique, it looks like you are still breaking up a little bit. I can see you. You can't quite hear you now, though. Let's see. Apologize, everyone. Let's see. Dominique, do you want to hop out and hop back in? Everyone, let's just give her one quick moment. It's going to be hopping out and hopping back in, and then talking through the next steps surrounding the platform. Just appreciate everyone's patience. Let me just check in with her again via email just to make sure everything's on the up and up there. We didn't touch on it too much before, but Hana Hana Beauty and Namesake are both brain trust founders that are working with Skintellect. She came highly recommended because of what her platform is doing to increase visibility. So look forward to hearing more next steps with that.
Oh
Oh,
yeah, what's up, man? Oh, never mind.
How am I? Can you hear
good. We're
me?
back.
Okay. Thank you for your patience,
No,
everyone.
no worries at all.
Thank you for the patience. Okay, I'll jump right back into the presentation. So, just to reference, that 11.1% is a high number. It's in the billions of dollars. And to know that there's at least a 9% gap of what like Black owned brands are missing or not receiving, I think one no, I don't know all the reasons, but one reason I account for that is the fact that there's not an easy shopping experience to find all these amazing brands that we love in a very straightforward, no frill way. You can close your eyes, find a brand for you, and it supports brands across the board that are, within that kind of like space to provide, the products. They're rooted in formulation and kind of representation across the board. So I think the shopping experience is a bit, we're trying to figure it out. So this is where we're coming in to make it more accessible and easier, and a lot easier to discover Black owned brands, just to reduce that gap there. Um, and then education, I think this is a key part where there's a true missing link there where Black consumers, oftentimes we don't have an emphasis on like our ingredients, the efficacy of it, and learning how to care for our skin. So essentially our marketplace would put emphasis on that and truly like empower that underserved consumer base, that underserved market. And then community, which I think is the most important part. I think we don't necessarily have a space where we have a community of communities. And if you think about it as Black consumers and founders, we have so many different backgrounds and so many different interests and origin stories and all of that. Where can we have a community of communities within that? So that's our emphasis, and sharing those like Asian beauty rituals. And as we know it, dialogue is the unsung hero in our beauty stories. Oh, my grandma told me this. I didn't read this somewhere, and all of that. So how can we share all that knowledge to kind of just empower our community across the board? But yeah, I know that was not too long actually. That was a pretty quick and fun run through of that. But the essence of it is that we're focused on ingredients, and in the sense that we're focused on ethical sourcing and origin of the ingredients, again African botanicals. And I think a lot of us are getting used to saying that African botanical, African beauty. I hope it doesn't sound alien. It doesn't sound like it's alienated. Oh my gosh, I'm muffling my words.
No, no, you're fine. You're fine.
We're not alienating anyone or any brands that don't think, oh, this is an African beauty brand. You don't have to call it that for it to be. I think the proof is in your ingredients and how you're formulating your products. So yeah, that's essentially it. Ingredients, culture, again, a community for communities. Melanin rich skin, like in Jamaica, we say the darker the berry, the sweeter the juice. So darker and deep skin tones. Skin concerns, so hyperpigmentation, dry skin, eczema, all the concerns that we as individuals also experience and deal with. Again, Black owned, and amplifying those founder stories. And science, I think we're still trying to figure out what's our formulation. Is it efficient? Is it science based? I know you can have a shea butter product Is it something that's just a whipped shea butter and that's it? You put it on the shelf, or are you including something like a retinol alternative that goes a little bit deeper to kind of like, treat like skin quirks and stuff like that? So I know we're all trying to figure out all that cool stuff and trying to make our products different, but I think we're still figuring out the basis of it. So there's a lot there to learn, and our goal is to create a space where we're able to figure that out, and go along that journey with our founders as well. So yeah, that's it. Thank you, thank you. um
We really do appreciate it. I'm sure we're gonna have a couple of questions come in, but I just wanted to touch on this. So, you know, Skintellect is very deliberate. It's very intentional in trying to amplify brands within this subsector of Black botanicals, right? There are growing
mhm.
trends that are increasing visibility to the industry and that are creating more opportunities for these Black brands, but there isn't enough support to maximize on this wave that we're seeing grow, right? So,
Right.
as it relates to how Skintellect will capture those eyeballs and put these brands in front of the people that are interested in this type of beauty. What is the process that Skintellect's going to undergo to try and bring those eyeballs in?
Yeah, so right now we've actually been doing a lot of partnerships with, I like, community is one of our biggest pillar. And to coming in as, I want to say, a baby in such a industry that has giants that have been doing it for so many years, is building laterally with communities that are already have put emphasis on Black and brown women, and a rich community and women who are, all about fashion and beauty and media. So for example, ESG, which is a platform called Ever Stylish Girl, they have over 100K audience. They do events in New York, LA, Ghana. We've partnered with them last year, to do exactly that, do pop-ups with them. Their event in New York had over 600 guests, and it was all women, Black women, brown women, right? So it's popping up in those spaces and those communities and really building laterally with those communities that already exist, with women that are already creating, placing interest in wanting to learn more and wanting to network and wanting to meet new brands and meet new people, and meeting them where they already are, instead of trying to like fetch for those eyeballs in a very saturated space. So that's one way we're looking at it and how to build organically. And also put in some emphasis on education. I think we don't appreciate. I think right now social media has turned into a place of entertainment, and education is kind of lacking a little bit, but people still really appreciate when you tell
Absolutely.
them which ingredients to use to, um which ingredients to use to get rid of dark spots on my leg, for example, right? Which right now we're calling it skin quirks. So it's really creating content that is savable and shareable. So we're putting emphasis on education versus, entertainment in that sense. But meeting our consumers where they are in a very organic way, and also creating content that speaks to them, that is solving a problem, which our overall essence is to solve a problem. By providing a cleaner, safer, easier shopping experience for, Black consumers, and just like Black founded brands too.
Absolutely. Another follow-up as it relates to onboarding and pricing. What does the onboarding
Mhm,
process look like for Skintellect? What type of brands are you looking to work with size-wise? Could you talk about
mhm.
that as well?
Yeah, we have brands. It runs the gamut. There's a range. We have brands that have recently launched. For us, the size itself doesn't necessarily matter, because we want to be able to create, a space where all brands feel like they can one day be a part of Skintellect, regardless of if they recently launched, if they've launched a year ago, and even revenue size. For us, it's you don't have to. The whole point is that our goal is to increase that revenue and visibility and discoverability for brands. So we don't necessarily look at that in a sense, but in terms of ethos, we want brands that are, in alignment of what we essentially care about, which is ingredients at the forefront. Are you using ingredients that are clean or good for melanin rich skin? I think that's where it starts. Are you using ingredients that are rooted in African botanicals, for example? Do you have a shea butter brand? What are you doing differently? Stuff like that. And also for us, we want people who are excited to connect to the Black consumer, and not just the Black consumer, because I know we Black founded brands aren't just for Black consumer, but I think it's great to have that connection and kind of like that heart of wanting to connect and build and grow. But yeah, I think for us, it's more so what kind of products, what's the process, what are the ingredients you're using, and also are you doing anything innovative that can also further amplify that Black owned brands aren't just body butters and face oils. Because I think, in a general sense, a lot of people think, oh, every Black owned brand is a butter or a face oil, which sometimes the reason why it's the majority of that is because it's not that it's the easiest product to make, but it takes a lot less manufacturing. And like we know here at Brain Trust, capital is a huge issue with Black founded brands. So usually, sometimes you just want to start somewhere and build. But what is that? What's the trajectory like? What are you planning and stuff like that? So it runs the gamut, but it can be as small as Glean. Glean recently launched, or it can be as big as Hannah Hannah Beauty that's been around for 7 years and just won a huge grant, and it's gonna get even bigger. So it really runs the gamut. There's a range for us.
Sounds like it matters more about there being brand alignment and alignment as it relates to the ethos of the brand and the products themselves, as opposed to any particular revenue marker or, you know,
Right.
like that. So that's really helpful. Do you have any thoughts on CBD or, hemp or anything like that? Does that fall into your range?
Ingestible or skincare?
I was absolutely skincare. Absolutely skincare. Yeah, no, that wasn't a general question. I meant in relation to skincare products.
No. I mean, in terms of, because they're like wellness products, right? That also lean to like ingestible beauty. That's what I meant.
Well,
Ingestible beauty.
I'm talking
Mhm.
more in terms of, let's say, topical application of like, maybe CBD or hemp.
Got it.
We have some brands in the studio that do incorporate hemp or CBD into their products to relieve pain or to
Yeah.
incorporate more effectiveness for their consumers. So would they
Yeah,
be
no.
eligible, or do you have a policy around that?
No, absolutely. Mary Lou, which is one of the brands that I mentioned earlier, they're full flower hemp based skincare brand, um, and they're eligible. And I think for us to just need to make sure that in terms of shipping, where they're shipping to, and can they ship to internationally, and what does those kind of like not border but customs regulations are and stuff like that. But within the US so far, I think we've had no issues. But yes, they're eligible. Mary Lou is one of the only brand that we actually have that CBD infused skincare brand.
Helpful.
But looking to grow in that category. I
Uh-oh. Thank you. Thank you for the comments there. There we
Sorry,
go.
I think I
I think
okay, I'm back.
here we go. All right. Well, a couple more questions actually. So, this came in via DM from another founder, but they wanted to know specifically, what's the onboarding process timeline look like? You talked about making sure that the brand is in alignment with Skintellect from a ethos standpoint, from a brand formulation standpoint, to make sure it's on brand with everything there. How do you review brands, and what is the timeline to be accepted?
Yeah, so usually, so there's a inbound and kind of pitch process happening. I'll reach out to a brand that I discover, I like them, or a brand will reach out and say, "Hey, I love what you're doing. I think we would be great for Skintellect. Would love to know the process." So essentially, let's say if I reach out to a brand or if a brand reaches out to me, I love to set up a meeting, a Zoom, Google Meet meeting within that week or within a 2 weeks timeline, just so I can meet the founder, get an essence of what the brand is all about, what their story is. So that will be like a week or two, and then they will send me products to test. If it's a brand that I've discovered myself, I usually just go out and buy the product myself, just so I'm one, supporting the brand, and two, also seeing how their shipping process is like, how long it takes to deliver, and all of that. And I'll try the product, and I usually give myself, dependent on the product
Mhm.
and I guess the benefits and the treatment. Let's say if retinol, you kind of want to take a bit more time to test a retinol product. If it's a body butter, you kind of get a gist of a body butter right away, like, okay, this is moisturizing, or this is too oily, or this is not great consistency. So it usually depends on the product itself. Straightforward products usually takes me about 3 weeks to kind of just test and get a vibe of it. And also like looking into the ingredients and all of that, and making sure that I don't break out like crazy, because I actually test all the products myself. Um, so on a short span, it can take like 4 weeks. And then let's say if it's a retinol, or let's say it's a hair care product or something of that sort, sometimes it can take up to like 6 weeks to 2 months, depending. But I like to also get those brands, like get updates on what are you working on and all of that within that time, just so I can get a sense of what to expect as well. um to expect as well from like what's next. So if they have any new products coming out, if I would love to test that, so we can maybe launch that exclusively or something of that sort. So I would say between 4 weeks to 6 weeks if we're doing it very rapid and quick and we love it and we can move forward. But let's say sometimes some products really do need more time to test, because if I say I'm actually curating a range of brands, I want to actually curate them. So it can be, if it's a face oil, sometimes it's like 4 weeks within that month or so. So it can be quick. It can be quick, but I like 2 months. I like to take my time.
Absolutely. Well, does anyone have any questions for Dylan Leek before we wrap things up?
I do have one question. Delaney, great job on the presentation. My
Thank you.
question is about the response that you're getting from founders that you're reaching out to. Are you finding that a lot of them have been looking for a space like Skintellect, or are some of them hesitant to only be on a marketplace with Black founded brands? Like, what is the general response that you're getting from people that you're reaching out to?
Yeah, that's a great question. I've I want to say in the very beginning stages, I was reaching out to brands that I know that are already very passionate about the Black consumer and being a Black owned brand and being rooted in, doing things differently for in terms of like a beauty. So in that sense, I was very safe with my approach. when I first started. But now I've become a bit more bold, reaching out to brands that, you know, skew even luxury. For example, there are a few brands that are Black owned but skews very luxury. And I was very hesitant to see how their responses would be, because, you know, they're part of like, they're like on Net-a-Porter, they're on, you know, they have, they're on other like retailers that have, you know, luxury brands that, you know, looks good to be among. And I think once I really start to talk to the brand and give them an idea of what we're doing in a very elevated way, because I think the general consensus is that, you know, people don't give Black owned brands a good rep of being luxury. So just to show them what we're doing, what we're building, to show them that we're elevating the space and our approach to a retailer, they get a bit more excited, and then they show a bit more interest. But I think what essentially wins them over is when I give them the stats about Silco Glam in terms of revenue, and give them, you know, the rundown of how K Beauty was able to create a category for itself, by just being bold and very forthcoming about what K Beauty is. And I think that's what's missing in our space. And then they, you know, become more interested. I'm yet to reach out to a brand that have given me a hard no, which is a good place to be. I'm not saying it will never happen, but I think it's because people can see that there's an uptick and a lot of interest in a beauty, as the category slowly develops, and people want to be a part of that. I think people have learned now to not do catch up, and now start being at the center of the conversations as they're happening. And I think that's our goal.
That's amazing. Thanks so much for sharing that. That kind of aligns with this quote that I found from Desiree Rogers, from Black
Mhm.
Global, but she mentioned that the burden shouldn't be placed on Black owned companies or their founders to like show or have a place for their products. So this is all amazing. Thank you so much for giving more insight into those founders' responses.
Thank you.
Very well said, by the way. I mean, whether it is, Target and, the commitments that they made following George Floyd, or any of these other retailers, there's been a whole lot of talk, but not enough resources and infrastructure to support these brands. So it's really nice to know
Mhm.
that you're meeting brands where they're at and not bogging them down with
Right.
initially, which can be very damaging, in some respects to these brands. So really love that. But one last thing I wanted to touch on. Could you touch on the pricing piece?
Oh, yes. We So we actually just, we're updating our back end. I would love to show you guys kind of like a little bit of what the news site would look like. If you've been on skintellect.co, you'll see that there's something missing. That's because the tech stuff, it's we're working on the back end, but I'll give you a sneak peek of what it's looking like, and because it goes live tomorrow. The price range right now, I don't think we have anything that's below $30. Um, so I think our threshold right now is $30, but because of the model, right? If you have to buy something wholesale and you have to do shipping and free shipping and all of that, doesn't make sense for the brand to have such a huge cut out of their margin. So I think for me, I try to make sure that it makes safe sense for the brand. Sometimes, you know, direct to consumer model is best for a product that is, below $30, or unless they're doing a huge wholesale buy, which generally puts a lot of constraints on founders as well, wholesale commitments, which I don't think is talked about enough.
Absolutely.
But for us right now, our threshold is 30, but I'm always open if, you know, I can have a conversation with the founders and we can find a middle ground to meet. And for me, I think I don't come from a very traditional retailer background, a very traditional like wholesale background. I don't have these like hard nose and these very structural rules. It's very being very flexible, especially as I know that I'm catering to a market that is one underserved, but also don't have the resources that, you know, a lot of other brands and founders have. So being flexible is one of my superpowers, I'll say. But right now our threshold is $30. It's beauty, so beauty skews a lot, you know,
Right.
lower in terms of price range, right? So, but we have brands, Marilyn Lou, I think their product is, if I'm not mistaken, is like 130 or something of that sort. So we have very high-end products as well as, you know, sheer body butters for $30. So we like to give people a range. We're rethinking this. We really are creating something new for us. So love to see what that eventually looks like in the coming years.
Absolutely. We appreciate you sharing. Does anyone else have any other questions?
Yes,
In the
jump in with the question real
meantime,
quick.
mhm.
How you guys doing? Thank you for the great presentation. One question, do you see the products tend to be primarily focused on women, or do you guys have some products that also are for men?
Good question. I think men are often left out in the beauty conversation. So thank you for that. We actually have one brand called Tricaris. It's founded by a guy, and he marketed more. Actually, funny enough, he started marketing the product for men, skincare for men. But I think now he is rethinking his marketing to being genderless, and I think it's because of, you know, the approach of men's skincare. I don't think men are shopping as much as we'd like, but our goal is to have a good, it probably won't be a good balance because it will always be more products made by women and for women in the space, I think. But we'd love to have a good range of, you know, men's skincare brands, wellness brands. Um, Again, I think underserved market, and I think men within that space is incredibly underserved too. So we do have Dracaris, and we hope to grow with more brands.
Thank
So
you.
if you have a skincare brand for men's, please let me know.
Hey, can now be an okay time to pitch, you know, if you wanted to run it faster. Out there.
Not a bad time. Yeah, if there's a brand that you have that you'd love for me to kind of, um, you know, check out, discover, look at, please let me know. I tend to, if I see something I like, I order, I try it out, you know, stuff like that. So if you have a brand, please drop it in. Please add it to the comments section so I can also take a look at those as well, um, if anything. But yeah, let me see here. I'm trying to.
I appreciate that, Lori. Thank you for dropping that in.
Thank you. I will just quickly show you the new interface that we're launching tomorrow. So essentially, looks very similar to what we currently have, but once you scroll down, you have like more of a nicely curated shop, and you know, you can see all of the brands. We have Glean, we have CSA, we have Melodor, we have Hana Hana. And again, very bold about A Beauty, made for you. And then we kind of like highlight the new brands that we have. So let's say, Kenny, if you had, I'm just gonna pinpoint you because you spoke just now. But if you had a brand that you wanted to introduce to our audience and we onboard you, we'll can also do a featured brand section as well. So just to give you an idea of what that looks like. So truly amplifying that. And then you can, this is not finished, this is going to be updated, but let's say if you're shopping for category, that's what that will look like. So we're releasing this new interface later today, and then the editorial. So you have like founder stories and all of that. So yeah, it's
Beautiful.
it's
It looks
an
great.
exciting time. Thank you. It's an exciting time for the marketplace. So would love to learn more about all the brands that you guys have here.
Well, Delanique, we really appreciate you speaking to the community today. Where can people reach out to you? I know there's going to be some interest. I received some DMs and there were some comments. So where can people reach out to you if they'd like to move forward?
Oh, awesome. Yes, you can reach me via email, delanique@skintellect.co. Or you can also DM me at skintellect.co's Instagram. I always check and respond to our DMs. We actually get a lot of interest and pitch and inbounds from brands just by reaching out to us via DMs. But email tends to work very fine. Delanique@skintellect.co. And I can also add it in the chat here for anyone who would like to grab it. Did you add it already?
Yeah, I
Oh,
threw
you
it.
did. Okay.
Yeah.
No worries. I didn't see that. But yeah, so delanique@skintellect.co. Very easy to reach me. I'm quick and very responsive.
Well, Delanique, this has been an amazing discussion. Thank you so much for taking the time. We love what you're
Thank
doing. There needs
you.
to be a lot more effort in this space to curate products specifically for Black brands, and we're glad that you're doing the work. So we will be in connection. I'm sure, of course, there will be people that are reaching out to you, and I'll be making introductions. So thank you all so much. We will see you at next week's session, and have a great weekend,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank
Bye.
you so much. Bye.
Bye.